At guard for the Huskies, 6'5" junior, number 32, Tate George. And at guard for the Hoyas, 6'1" senior, number 13, Charles Smith. At center for Connecticut, a 6'11" senior, number 00, Cliff Robinson. And the center of the Hoyas, 6'10" freshman, number 33, Alonzo Mourning. At forward for the Huskies, 6'6", sophomore, number 20, Murray Williams. And at forward for the Hoyas, 6'4", senior, number 21, Jaren Jackson. At the other forward for Connecticut, 6'9", freshman, number 22, Rod Sellers. And at forward for the Hoyas, 6'7", sophomore, number 52, John Turner. The officials for this afternoon's game are Bob Donato, Jim Howell, and Mickey Crowley.
Jim Calhoun over there on the Connecticut bench. John Thompson, of course, making his return, the coach, the Georgetown Hoyas. We'll be back with the opening tip after these words from your local station. Cap Center, the Hoyas lead in this series handily, but they split the two games last year. Connecticut losing by just a point here and then winning up at Hartford. And Joe O'Brien, as is often the case, tempo a key in this game.
No question. If Jim Calhoun has his choice, this game is going to be played in the high 60s. On the other hand, if John Thompson has his choice, it's going to be an 85-pointer plus.
Cliff Robinson and Alonzo Mourning will go up in the middle. The outstanding freshman. Georgetown, a big road win at Providence the other night. We are underway, and there's Charles Smith finding Jaren Jackson. Jackson takes it. Rebound Robinson, starting off like he did against Syracuse on Monday night.
And that could be a big factor in the ballgame if Cliff can do the job on the defensive board. He and Rod Sellers have to have an outstanding defensive rebounding game.
Robinson was immense first 5 minutes. In and out this time. Good rebound. Gamble in the lane. Mourning right there. And made Gamble change the shot. On the break, Jackson. Good hustle. Good block by Gamble. Here comes Connecticut running. Now Tate George will pull it back out and set it up.
And Tate George did exactly what Jim Calhoun has directed him to do. They want to play the half-court game unless they have terrific advantage in terms of numbers on the fast break.
Murray Williams. Again, George to set it up. Dwayne Bryant aggressively out on him.
Georgetown an aggressive half-court man-to-man defense.
Jaren Jackson's over covering Phil Gamble. That puts Charles Smith on Murray Williams, which at least size-wise is a mismatch in Connecticut's favor. Well, the Hoyas jump all around. Williams down low for two.
Cliff Robinson made the unselfish pass.
Georgetown, the quick push the other way.
Georgetown playing man-to-man. Connecticut playing 2-3 zone.
Hoyas with the quick exchanges of passes. Bryant, a much better shooter this year than last. Offensive board, Jackson in the paint. Lost it on the way up, but got a foul. Rod Sellers will pick it up.
And you mentioned Bryant, a much better shooter than he was last year, shooting over 60%, just having an outstanding year. But if there's a key to the ball game, as always against the Hoyas, you have to clear that defensive board, and allowing Jackson to get second shots there is a death knell for any visiting team.
I would think as we watch that 2-3 zone as the game progresses, we're going to see a lot of Connecticut players backed right into the paint. I would think they're going to force Georgetown to make that shot, the type that Bryant missed.
Jim Calhoun told me today that they're going to play a collapsing defense, pay a little bit of attention to Charles Smith, and then try to make the rest of the Hoyas beat him over the top.
A little bit of woofing going on out there as Alonzo Mourning and Cliff Robinson were going at each other. Mickey Crowley quick to get in the middle, and Dwayne Bryant right now having a few words with his teammate Alonzo Mourning.
I think a typical basketball early game altercation, a lot more debate than fisticuffs.
And John Thompson's going to take Mourning immediately out of the game.
And credit John Thompson with that particular move. Alonzo Mourning, a special kind of a player, but still a little bit young in his career, has to learn not to be sucked into something.
Jackson hits the first free throw. Dikembe Mutombo has come in. Jaren Jackson, 67% free throw shooter on the year. Gets the roll on the second. We're tied at 2. Hoyas come with immediate pressure.
Big factor for the Huskies to be able not only to handle this, but to put some points on the board against the press.
Nice catch by Williams. The block down low by Mutombo, but they score it. No, correction. Let's take another look here.
We have the Huskies doing what Jim Calhoun wants, taking it to the basket against the press, but good defensive step in. The charge was called. No score.
Yep, Murray Williams picking up his first foul. Didn't see Jackson get underneath Mutombo. He's so big.
Now Connecticut out in its version of pressure, a little bit more passive than the Hoya pressure, though. And you'll notice.
In and out with Smith's first shot.
With the UConn zone, you'll have 4 guys with a foot in the red as often as possible. Now Georgetown out of the 1-3-1 zone, changing up the defenses a little bit against UConn.
2.5 minutes into this game, the pace very much like Jim Calhoun would have it. Robinson misses from the corner. Great tap in.
Murray Williams, super offensive rebound, tip in for 2.
They get the early lead. Turner was calling for the ball inside. There it goes. He kicks it out. Bryant, Smith, lower still Mutombo. Now Bryant again will try one. Back rings his second shot of the afternoon. Nice steal by Jackson on the offensive board. And he got 2 on the baseline.
Jackson is just such an opportunist around that offensive glass.
Georgetown just 1 of 6. Gamble. Mutombo clears the miss.
And again, it's not always blocking the shot, it's changing the arc. He made him change his shot that particular time.
Turner the good save, but he couldn't keep it in bounds. It'll be Connecticut basketball. Tied at 4, 16:33 to go here first half.
And you make a good point. Jim Calhoun up and exhorting his team, but he's pleased with the pace so far, Mike. He wants it to be a half-court game as much as possible.
Hoyas picking up aggressively. See how far out Turner's willing to come on Gamble.
They're not going to give Gamble the open 3-point shot.
The 2-1-2 we're looking at here, or the Connecticut's looking at. Robinson gets fouled down low. Mutombo picks it up.
I think it comes out of a 1-3-1 alignment, but becomes a matchup zone, so they'll match up to the UConn offense.
Got to put Cliff Robinson on the line. Robinson, as Connecticut fans know, the type of player who, if he gets off quickly, will stay.
And he gets off to a good start. It's pretty special, and he's a pretty good foul shooter, shooting about 67%.
First point of the afternoon. Alonzo Mourning comes back in, and Mutombo sits down.
It's a bit of a 1-minute education there. John talked to him a little bit.
Turner comes away with the Robinson miss. Here comes Bryant. Smith trying to use the basket, and he picked up a foul. Rod Sellers got it, his second.
Charles Smith can hurt you in so many ways. He, of course, has the 3-point ability in terms of 3-point range. He has the ability to penetrate to get points for others. And, of course, he can take it to the basket as he did there himself along the baseline.
He throws up some of the more interesting shots you'll ever see.
And an over 80% foul shooter. Usually money in the bank when he goes to the charity stripe.
Smitty, of course, just an outstanding effort at Providence the other night. It was really a one-man team. He drops them both in. The Hoyas have their first lead. They're up 6-5. We'll be back. John Thompson comfortably back on the sidelines where he would prefer to be after his brief trip out to Kansas City. And there you can see some of John's remarks. When he came back, he feels satisfied now that indeed there is going to be progress towards at least amending Proposal 42.
John Thompson's coaching record speaks for itself. The fact that he took a stance on a social issue is special, and while he has an impact on the NCAA, he's also had an impact upon social history now.
Hoya struggling from the field early. We should mention here Jim Calhoun. I know for a fact, I'm sure there are other coaches who did, but Jim Calhoun sent a telegram to John a week ago Saturday night, or a week ago tonight, when he decided to walk off the court for the game in full support of John Thompson's measure.
I think not only the coaches in the Big East, but the coaches throughout the country are in support of John's stance.
Huskies able to break through the Hoya pressure. You can see Charles Smith signaling the defense out front.
Georgetown now in their version of a 2-1-2 zone. They'll pay a little bit of attention to Phil Gamble and try to keep the ball away from Robinson in the paint.
It's a big one in the middle, too, isn't it? Number 33.
Sure is. Leads the nation in blocks, and he's always going to be around the ball, around the hoop.
Hey, George passes up the three, finds Gamble in traffic. The left hand goes. Make that Cliff Robinson in traffic.
Cliff Robinson, super move left-handed there. It's the kind of thing that makes the NBA scouts drool a little bit about this young man. And a one-point game last year. Jackson missing the three, and Robinson does a great job on the boards. Connecticut very effective on the defensive board here early. Huskies collapsing zone is effective. The Hoyas haven't been able to hit over the top, and to their credit, Robinson leading the charge on the defensive board for UConn. Very important.
Gamble has a screen and fires. That'll come up short, and it's picked off by Turner. Oh, good steal. Tate George takes it in the paint. The hook is long, but Robinson follows.
And if we talk about Cliff Robinson getting off to a quick start, being a good sign for UConn, it certainly is here. He's playing outstanding basketball both ends of the court. UConn now showing slightly different zone, a 1-3-1 zone, where they'll pack it in a little bit.
Gamble is down there on the baseline. Jackson really travels. Smith will take the three. Not going down for Smitty so far. And the foul, I believe, Alonzo Mourning's going to pick it up.
Here's the defensive rebound. Careless outlet. Super steal by Tate George. Takes it to the basket. Does what he does best. Makes a little spin move here. Isn't able to put it down, though. Cliff Robinson up over the top with the super dunk.
Again, Connecticut, no trouble with the Hoya pressure here. 6 minutes into the game, Gamble, left-handed runner won't go. Ripped off by Jaren Jackson. Outlet to Smith. Gets around George. And Tate back defensively to pick him up and cut off the penetration.
And one of the big keys in the ball game for Coach Calhoun and the Huskies is they had to take away fast break points from the Hoyas, and so far they've been effective at doing that.
Georgetown just 1 of 8 shooting the ball. Much the same start they had in Providence the other night. Turner couldn't get the handle, then he gets stripped. Loose on the floor. Tillman got it, but threw it out of bounds.
And credit the Husky quick hands in the collapsing zone with causing that turnover.
Chris Smith is coming into the ball game for Connecticut, and Phil Gamble will sit down. Bobby Winston in, Jaren Jackson out for the Hoyas. So the Huskies, who had a terrific first 5 minutes against Syracuse, which was really the deciding point in that game, if you look back on it, have come out strong here at the Cap Center.
Early in the game, the Georgetown Hoyas with 4 early turnovers. That's not characteristic of John Thompson teams.
Murray Williams, nice move for 2. Mark Tillman out looping at half court.
Mark Tillman with that injury, that's been a kind of a thing that's hurt him. He was a key player for the Georgetown ball club last year. He was injured early this year preseason, and he really has not been able to get things going. As a result, he doesn't even have his shot down. He's not even shooting well from three-point range, where he used to be the key guy for the Hoyas.
John Thompson really shuffling his players. Connecticut on a 6-point run here. Check that Hoya lineup. It's Bobby Winston, Charles Smith, Ronnie Thompson, Dikembe Mutombo and Alonzo Mourning.
And Ronnie Thompson in there to see if they can free him up for one of those jump shots to bring out that zone.
There's one, won't go down. Look at Robinson, big on the boards again.
I've never seen Cliff Robinson sky more than he is on the defensive board tonight, doing an outstanding job early.
He's got 5 rebounds and 5 points in the first 7 minutes of this game. Willie McLeod in for the first time, touchdown.
Georgetown out man-to-man. Now see if the Huskies try to get the ball inside to Robinson.
Tipped away by Bobby Winston. It'll still be Connecticut ball.
Hoya fans think there was a deflection there.
McLeod, a little room. Again, Robinson was high. Smith there, though, for the offensive board and 2.
Young Smitty, the smallest guy in the court, comes up with the offensive rebound for 2.
A 7-point Connecticut lead, and Georgetown wants a timeout. They need it. The Huskies have run off 8 straight to lead 13-6, 11:49 to go. Back after these words from your local station. Over Connecticut, and Jim Calhoun out early in this one, 13-6. And a reminder, this copyrighted telecast is produced by the authority of the Big East Conference and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Big East Conference is prohibited. Steal, Connecticut. Here's Chris Smith ahead of the field. And a foul on Bobby Winston.
Chris Smith has made an immediate impact upon coming in the ball game. Picked up that offensive rebound for Deuce before. Was involved in the steal and the breakaway here. Again, it's the effectiveness of the collapsing zone on the part of the Huskies. Smith in front of the pack. Nice attempt at a recovery. Foul on Winston, no question about it.
Smith used his body well there. That's the only way Winston was going to get to it.
Smitty, obviously one of the outstanding recruits in the country last year. Somebody going to be very, very special for UConn over the course of the years. Not as good a foul shooter as he's going to be over the course of his career.
Looked pretty smooth on that one. Chris just a 28% free throw shooter to this point in the season, but as you say, Joe, this kid's too good to shoot.
We've mentioned that before. That's a matter of freshmanitis. He's no 28% foul shooter. You can be sure of that. He's going to shoot around 70 over the course of his career.
Pretty smooth on those 2. 10 straight points for the Connecticut Huskies after Georgetown had taken their only lead of the game at 6-5.
And the Huskies in that collapsing defense. Georgetown 1 for 10 from the floor.
Good look ahead. DePriest got 2 off the glass. Connecticut pushing it right back at Georgetown to lead by 11.
UConn doesn't want to get into a dash and a race here, but they'll take the advantage when it's there, as they did that way, getting it to Lyman DePriest for 2.
Inside, Mourning, good up quick. He got 2.
Alonzo Mourning doesn't look like a freshman when he gets that ball in close. Real nice, strong head fake and up to the basket. Knows what he's doing with the ball.
I think that has surprised most observers. I know this observer here is how good offensively he is.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before, Mike. He came in expecting to be a defensive force and a great rebounder, but we're all surprised at what finesse he has offensively. Cliff Robinson to the basket.
Oh, good tip, but no, it's called over the back. McLeod, no basket. Heck of an athletic move by Willie McLeod.
Willie McLeod using the Hoya as a ladder, left hand on, super dunk otherwise. Again, Jim Calhoun wants this kind of thing to happen, though. Robinson misses. McLeod goes to the basket, but definitely has his left hand on Alonzo Mourning's back for the foul. Good ball by Mickey Crowley.
Winston and Jackson exchange. Jackson trying to loop it in. Nice pass. Mutombo got 2.
And Mutombo shooting close to 70% from the floor, as we say, over the course of the year. And one of the reasons is that pretty much shoots it on a downward arc all the time.
Phil Gamble will come back into the game for Connecticut. Chris Smith will sit down. Robinson will make the inbound pass in the face of the pressure. Georgetown had a little trouble setting up what press they wanted to be in there, and eventually ended up, as you can see, a man-to-man.
Looks as though Smitty's just a man-to-man on Tate George. See if the Huskies try to get it to Robinson, see if he can take Mutombo one-on-one.
Lyman to Priest, nowhere to go. Kicks it out, picked off by Winston. Up ahead, Smith. He'll get two.
And that's the first time that we've seen Georgetown's defense generate some offense, and that's a big part of John Thompson's game plan, obviously.
The Hoyas with a run of their own here, 6 straight to get back to 5. Robinson really calling for the ball down low. Turnaround. The tip won't go. Second one does. Tough play to Priest again.
McLeod and DePriest doing an outstanding job of pursuing the ball on the offensive glass for the UConn Huskies. That's not necessarily a forte of the UConn team. That's usually something trademarked for Georgetown.
They are beating the Hoyas to the ball here early.
Early game plan, early statistics all favor UConn.
Jackson, front rim and everything, goes and gets it himself. Picked off the floor, George and Winston. It'll be Connecticut basketball. Murray Williams and Dwayne Bryant are about to come back into the game. 19-12, Connecticut by 7, 8.5 to go first half, Connecticut ball.
The real improvement in the Georgetown team this year, I think that's been a surprise to the other Big East teams, has been their outside shooting. Now, it was a little bit dry over at Providence, and it's been dry here early.
That is a surprising stat right there.
And Cliff Robinson just doing an outstanding job. He's leading the Huskies, and as the graphic showed, the Huskies out-rebounding the Hoyas 12-7.
Cliff Robinson picking up that foul, his first, as he tried to set a screen down the lane.
And Jim Calhoun a little disappointed with that. He doesn't want Cliff Robinson picking up that kind of a personal foul.
Bryant and Smith, the backcourt. Milton Bell getting his first minutes of the afternoon. Bell, another fine freshman out of Richmond. And he throws it away.
UConn has done an outstanding job in switching defenses. Showed a little bit of man-to-man that time and encouraged a turnover.
Yeah, Jim Calhoun's going to go right back to Chris Smith. Tate George will get a rest this time.
And that was the 6th turnover for the Hoyas here in the first 12 minutes.
John Thompson looked at that substitution and got his team back up pressing a little bit. Tate George has done a wonderful job for the Connecticut Huskies this year, running the show. This is the heir apparent, Chris Smith. Murray Williams trying to put it through. Gamble got it, then got stripped. Loose ball. Hoyas have got it and got some numbers on the break. Bell, little runner, goes down.
Bell, an outstanding young freshman.
That just occurred right in front of us, and the intensity with which Georgetown plays defense is just amazing.
The fans getting into the game, and the Hoyas turning up the defense just a notch.
Couldn't have gotten a piece of paper between Dwayne Bryant and Phil Gamble. Outside, Murray Williams hits two. He's having himself a great little half here.
And talking with Jim Calhoun again this morning, he's saying that a big key for them is for Murray Williams to have one of those pop-out games, and this may be it. He's off to a good start here.
4 of 4 shooting for Murray Williams. He's got 8, and Connecticut remains in control here, up 21-14. Back after these words from your local station. All right, Gorman, Joe O'Brien back here at the Cap Center. Connecticut and Georgetown. Connecticut up by 7. Both clubs really going at it.
Big East kind of intensity, and the Hoyas, John Thompson always recruits quickness, and the Hoyas have terrific hands, and we'll see a sequence here of the ball loose, and eventually Georgetown will come up with the ball. That's not the particular play we want to see.
All right, Bryant, Smith, Warning, Bell, and Jackson are on the floor for Georgetown. George, Williams, McLeod, Gamble, and Robinson for the Huskies.
Again, the Huskies are playing their version of the 1-3-1 zone, trying to pack it in, pay attention to Charles Smith, and make someone else beat them over the top.
Smith down the baseline, and they turn it over. Other than that one little play down low, John Thompson's club has not been able to involve Mourning at all offensively.
Well, the defense that UConn is playing is taking away from them. There's no question that the Huskies are going to make someone from Georgetown hit over the top.
Don't you occasionally, though, have to force it in there just to get your point home, too?
Well, I think Charles Smith is going to have to start to try to penetrate a little bit. That's the way to get the ball inside, not to just try to pass it around the perimeter.
Little pull-up jumper comes up short, loose underneath. There's Murray Williams. High off the glass for 2 more.
And that's not a fluke that Murray Williams comes up with an offensive rebound. He just has a terrific nose for the ball around the offensive glass.
He's 5 of 5. Jackson is short. Long rebound tracked down by Jaron in the corner, and he skips it back to Smith. Bell. No room in the baseline. Hasn't been much room anywhere in the face of this Connecticut defense.
Connecticut's played a collapsing zone, but it's a hustling zone. They've really had a good nose for the ball as a team so far.
Quick hands there, knocked out of bounds. Willie McLeod.
I think sometimes when you say a collapsing zone to people, they have a tendency to think that you mean passive, and that's not at all the case. This is a very, very active zone that Connecticut's playing, even though they're packing it in.
Sam Jefferson comes in as Jackson sits down. Rod Sellers back in for Connecticut. John Turner also comes in for the Hoyas.
See with Turner and Alonzo Mourning in the ball game together now, if in fact the Hoyas do try to force something inside.
Smith will try deep. And he gets the bounce this time for 3. Hoyas have been front rimming just about every shot.
And no matter how much attention you pay to the Charles Smiths of the world, he's Mr. Crunch Time because he's capable of doing that kind of thing.
Nice screen set up by Willie McLeod to free George. He goes all the way. Mourning might have got a piece of it. And it's going to be Georgetown basketball.
And I don't know if they'll credit Mourning with a block there, but it definitely looked as if he touched that one.
Out of bounds. Georgetown might have caught a break there.
I think so.
Smith looking for another one. A rebound, all Hoyas as Jefferson and Turner were right there on the glass this time. Calhoun redirecting a little bit of his defense.
Jim, as we mentioned, very, very concerned about paying attention to Charles Smith, making Bryant or someone else go over the top, keep the ball out of Alonzo Mourning's hand. Quick hands Tate George, quick hands Turner.
Bryant takes it in, blocks Sellers, and we got a blocking foul. The officials confer, and they point at Willie McLeod.
Willie McLeod made the good move defensively, but was just a little bit late getting in. Bryant took the ball strong to the basket.
Second foul on McLeod.
Here's Bryant taking the ball to the basket. McLeod not quite in. You have to be established. Did not quite get there. Dwayne Bryant, as we mentioned, just having an outstanding year for the Hoyas, shooting 63% from the field and just over 71% from the foul line.
Interesting, Joe, too. I mean, here's a kid who, he's a great defensive player, has an abundance of skills, but the first 2 years, you wouldn't have thought that he could, hit the water from a boat. I mean, he really struggled shooting the ball.
Well, it's a psychological and mental thing, and the other thing is that Tillman was playing so well, it took away the potential minutes for Bryant. Tillman's injury early opened up the door for Dwayne Bryant, and he's not going to open it back.
5-point Husky lead. About 4.5 to go here first half. Sellers pops out, puts it on the floor, gets stripped. Connecticut catches a break. Robinson right over Turner, and Turner got a piece of it, but a foul is called. First on John Turner. Robinson never hesitated to turn and fire on Turner, and Turner was there.
Robinson wanted it. Robinson does a real good job of posting up here. Uses his body well, turns to the baseline, faces up. Turner definitely gets a piece of the ball, but looked as if he also got a piece of the wrist.
Cliff steps to the line with 5 points.
We've mentioned this before about Robinson. He plays as a postman for the Huskies because he is a good offensive player with his back to the basket, but his future in the NBA is going to be facing the basket. He's going to play as a scoring forward. Connecticut extending its defense.
6-point game. Bryant, the near travel. Jefferson's looking inside. Mourning really calling for the ball.
As we mentioned, it's a 2-3 collapsing zone, but very, very active. No one on Connecticut has their feet still. Everybody's moving. Someone else besides Smitty's going to have to hit over the top. If in fact the Hoyas are going to make him change this defense.
Here it goes to Mourning. And he traveled with it. Took that little double step as he tried to turn on Cliff Robinson. Bobby Winston will check into the game when we get back. 3:41 to go here first half, and the Huskies still up by 6.
Here's an example of that collapsing Connecticut zone. Going to cause a turnover. Alonzo Mourning, no place to go, winds up making the travel. You don't turn the ball over simply by stealing it. Just simply collapsing on the big guy caused travel.
Change his pivot feet.
Important to recognize here, front court scoring. UConn 20-10 to Georgetown. That's a bit of a surprise.
Murray Williams, good play there to keep it in bounds. Tate George, as you can see, has come back in for the Huskies. They are back essentially to the starting lineup. Williams, the hot hand, he's 5 of 5 in the first half. And to his credit, hasn't forced one.
Tate George looking to penetrate and get it to Robinson.
Shot clock here. It's at 5. Williams, good look for George. Follows Sellers.
And again, the outstanding job that the Connecticut Huskies are doing on the offensive board is the real surprise so far in this ballgame.
He took 42 seconds off the shot clock and made a basket. Those are the kind of trips that
Jim Calhoun would do that every single time down court, Michael.
Other than that one that we thought Alonzo Mourning might have gotten a piece of, the Hoyas do not have a block in this game. George kept it alive there. It goes out of bounds, and it'll be Hoya basketball.
The Huskies have been quicker to the ball on both the offensive and the defensive end than the Hoyas so far today.
And the Plymouth Player of the Game to be selected at the conclusion of this game and during every game televised by the Big East Conference Television Network is all part of the Chrysler Corporation sponsorship of Big East basketball. Mark Tillman coming back in for Georgetown.
Obviously, this is a surprise there, that graphic showing that Connecticut doing the job on its offensive board, coming up with second opportunities.
Nearly got themselves a good steal there, but then they couldn't handle the ball down in the corner, so the Hoyas get it back. But Jim Calhoun has to be happy with the 18 minutes or so that he has watched so far here at Landover.
Charles Smith and Bobby Winston are going to start to try to penetrate. I think that's important. Another big steal there by Tate George. Uncharacteristic number of turnovers for Georgetown so far in this ballgame.
11.
Tate George willing to take at least 30 seconds off the clock and then try to get the ball inside to Cliff Robinson.
Williams unable to handle the pass. Winston, the quick push. And no one's there as he dishes it backwards. Mourning hustles back. George takes it too high. Tracked down to all Connecticut on the offensive board. George got Mourning in the air. Missed it. Sellers an offensive rebound. He's got it.
I don't think I've ever seen a ball game in which the Hoyas have been out-rebounded on the respective offensive boards the way they have been today. UConn just strictly out-hustling Georgetown right now.
Second chance points now at 12-2 in favor of Connecticut, and that is the difference in the game. A 10-point Husky lead.
The Huskies are not going to change their game plan. They're going to pack it in. They're going to pay attention to Charles Smith, and someone else is going to have to beat them over the top, or Bryant and Smith are going to have to start to penetrate to get it inside.
Tillman does exactly that and hits a runner. First 2 for Mark Tillman.
I think people sometimes think that the only way to beat a zone is to beat it over the top. Actually, penetration can be just as effective against it.
The Huskies do not need to shoot the ball. They can take that clock all the way down to 0.
I'll be surprised if they don't work the last.
And Tate George takes a timeout, and the smart one there is Charles Smith had him tied up.
I don't think that Jim Calhoun is too pleased with that. I think he felt as though they should have been able to get into their half-court, four corners, last shot kind of offense without having to call this timeout.
Well, I'm sure he wanted that. If you saw where Tate was swallowed up right here, he might have taken the timeout.
When you're the player on the court, it's a heck of a lot easier to say discretion is the better part of valor. Timeout, coach. What do you want us to do?
Stick around at halftime here as we will take a look around the Big East. Also a look back at the Big East with Chris Mullen and Patrick Ewing, and have first half stats and highlights. All that's coming up here at halftime at Landover. The Big East, and a league that has been so full of surprises you would wonder if there can be too many left. But each time we go out to a game, Joe, as you said, you haven't picked one right this year.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've had a particular game right on the nose. And I'm talking about potential blowouts where one team was a big favorite, and yet game in, game out. I guess you can't even call them upsets anymore.
No.
It's just typical Big East basketball, and the bottom can beat the top on any given night. Obviously, points allowed here as a result of turnovers. Connecticut only 5, Georgetown 12 as a result of their 12 turnovers. Factor in the ball game so far. Tate George to try to get a last shot for Phil Gamble or Cliff Robinson, I'd say, if Jim Calhoun's strategy works.
Chris Smith avoids the foul from Ronnie Thompson. Thompson, pretty good reach in, picked off by Tillman. Up to Charles Smith, who takes it in for 2. Connecticut will have to hustle to get a shot off. Smith finds George. Gamble for 3. Rebound Tillman. Lets it fly three-quarter court.
And just a little bit of momentum change there where Georgetown came up with the steal, converted the basket. Now they go running off the court, and it changes the game ever so slightly.
The Huskies a near perfect half to go up by 6, 28-22. Back after these words from your local stations.
And obviously a big factor was that the Hoyas got off cold against the Connecticut zone. But no matter how you look at the statistics, the turnovers are going to be a big factor. The fact that the Connecticut zone has been able to turn the ball over 12 times has been a big factor. Murray Williams out to an outstanding first half with 10 points. Charles Smith, as we would have anticipated, the Hoya leader with 9. Surprising statistic is this particular graphic, though, with Connecticut 10 offensive rebounds leading to 12 points. That's a real surprise. I don't think I've ever been at a ball game where a John Thompson Hoya team has been out-rebounded on the offensive board.
And they have been a hit. We'll take a look at a play here. Rod Sellers doing the damage to the Hoyas this time.
And here's the example of it. Tate George misses on a penetrating move. Right, Sellers going to come off the opposite side, back up with the ball strong. I think he's going to back up here strong. Yes, for the 12th point.
All right, we are underway here, second half. Brian Smith, Turner, Jackson, and Mourning are out there for Georgetown. Tate George, Murray Williams, Phil Gamble, Rod Sellers. Good hands by George there. Mourning doubled immediately, nowhere to go, wants to go anyway, and he drew a foul.
And there's an example of what you were talking about a little bit earlier, Mike, where despite the fact that Connecticut is collapsing, Georgetown has decided it's going to go inside, get it to Mourning, and tell Alonzo, do your thing, and that's just what he did here.
That's a third foul on Rod Sellers. He's the only player even remotely in foul trouble. There have not been a lot of fouls called in this ballgame.
Alonzo Mourning obviously not having one of these outstanding ball games. He's really been outstanding offensively as of late. They haven't been able to get him involved in the offense, and I think it was designed at halftime to go inside. That's exactly what happened here. Alonzo, a 65% foul shooter. When we talk about him, obviously everybody talks about him as the leading shot blocker in the nation at over 6 a game.
All right, let's see how Connecticut sets up offensively.
Georgetown
Robinson
out.
coming to the ball.
Georgetown out man-to-man, but they're collapsing on Robinson. Smith, real quick hands, comes up with a steal. Not a surprise. He leads the Hoyas in steals as usual.
Jaron Jackson just 1 of 7 shooting in that first half. Mourning buried a 3 from just about that spot against Seton Hall.
Now again, Connecticut back in its 2-3 zone. It's sort of a matchup zone. They decided that it's not going to be Smith who beats them over the top. It's going to have to be someone else.
Dwayne Bryant penetrates, dumps it off. Down low, got another foul.
And we mentioned it just before the end of the first half. I think it's important for observers to recognize this. There's one way to play against a zone is to try to go over the top and beat it from the perimeter. Another way is to try to penetrate on the dribble and get shots for someone else. And here we're going to see Dwayne Bryant now up fake, penetrate, look underneath, make the feed, draw the foul. So there are different ways in which to attack the zone. It looks as though Georgetown is going to try to penetrate and try to go inside to Mourning.
Sellers sitting down with 4 fouls. It brings Willie McLeod off the Connecticut bench. John Turner. It's the first field goal he attempted today, and he hits the free throw.
We've talked about his foul shot before. It's an interesting arc. It goes above the top of the backboard, but he does have a nice touch for a big guy, and he's a better scorer as of late than people realized earlier.
Looks like a real wish when it doesn't go in, though, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
28-24. If you watched this game, Joe, and didn't have a scoreboard, you would think Connecticut was ahead by maybe 10-15.
Well, that's a difficult thing about Georgetown. I mean, they play intensely all the time, despite the fact that Connecticut is outplayed. Georgetown's right there. Robinson misses with the turnaround.
Jackson still alive, gets it to Smith. Smith on the break will take it himself, and he drew a foul outside. So the fouls pile up quickly here on Connecticut to open the second half.
And while we've mentioned numerous times in the first half, here's Coach Calhoun up and exhorting his bench a little bit to get in the ball game. Connecticut had been out hustling the Hoyas early, but at the end of the half and just here in the beginning of the third quarter, Hoyas have the advantage in terms of hustle. Robinson misses, outstanding play. Smitty going to take it to the basket. The amazing thing about this kind of a shot, the scoop shot, is he can make that thing. Uncharacteristically, Smitty misses the first one, 81% foul shooter.
Charles Smith, the player who came to Georgetown after John Thompson said, look, if you want to come, you can come, but you're never going to play.
Could be a defensive specialist. We'll get you in off the bench every once in a while, and here he leads him in just about every statistical game.
Gamble breakaway. Nice move.
Oh, Gamble, super job of using the rim. Alonzo Mourning had taken aim on the block. Gamble put the ball on the floor, come out the other side, and turned it in left-handed. Real nice spin move by Phil Gamble.
Just the first basket for Phil this afternoon. Turner calling for it. Bryant will try. Turner and Mourning all over that offensive board. And Turner stepped on the baseline as he tried to make a move.
Had 3 Huskies all over him, caused the turnover.
Connecticut a 5-point lead and the ball. 3-on-2. George kicks it off. Gamble tries again and hits.
Willie McLeod made the real good move. He was going to have trouble attacking Mourning, made the pitch back out and sets it up for the deuce.
And the Hoyas just fumble it away on the sidelines, and John Thompson wants a timeout. Obviously not happy with the concentration level of his club. 32-25. It's a 7-point Husky lead. Husky lead, 17-19 to go second half. A look at that last bucket.
And Connecticut definitely wants to score points against the press. Here's the super move that Phil Gamble made versus Alonzo Mourning. Took it to the basket. Used the basket very, very effective there. And as a result, Mourning could not make the block.
Phil with 4 points here second half after an unusual scoreless first half. Gamble came in averaging 13 a game.
UConn by 7, but John Thompson is concerned. He knows that there are 14 turnovers there as a result of the UConn defense, and that's uncharacteristic of his ball club. The other surprise is the outstanding job that UConn's been able to do on the offensive board.
Tate George, nice job to break through the double team.
Connecticut has done a very effective job of handling the pressure.
Again, pulling it back on the instructions of Jim Calhoun.
Georgetown in a very, very aggressive man-to-man now.
Robinson. Williams a little up fake, trying to stick it underneath, and it's picked off the floor by Jackson up to Smith. Smith a good catch to get away from possible travel there. Jaren Jackson's pull-up goes down. Three-pointer.
Georgetown has not been able to hit over the top at all. That might open up the offense a little bit more for them.
George needs a little help. Reach-in foul, John Turner. John Thompson, a little patch for Mickey Crowley. Second foul on Turner.
John Thompson says, just a touch foul, Mick. Just a touch foul. You can't take us out of our pressure. Jim Calhoun, on the other hand, thinks it was a good call.
Here's Gamble breaking momentarily clear again. Now pulls it back out. McLeod was sneaking through, but Phil didn't see it.
And Connecticut continues to lead, but they have to establish something in their half-court offense here now. Georgetown defense starting to become much more effective.
Robinson pops out. In and out. Cliff 2 of 9 in the game. Smith's pull-up. Somebody get a piece of that. Loose ball rebound comes to Turner. He puts it back up, and he'll go to the line.
I think he might have been fouled on the floor prior to the shot. He may not go to the line. He may take the ball out underneath. I'm not sure. No, he did. Got him on the shot. Ball the NBA continuation foul.
The Hoya bench and the Hoya crowd coming alive a bit as Jim Calhoun sheds his sport coat. Now he puts it back on.
The momentum is definitely changing the ball game. Connecticut continues to lead, but the Georgetown defense has cranked up a little bit. Connecticut has not been able to get anything going in their half-court offense.
Playing a little bit, Joe, like the Syracuse game where Connecticut had a great 17, 18 minutes or so of the first half. Syracuse put a little burst at them to close the half, went ahead in the second half, and the Huskies, to their credit, came back and won the game going away.
And Jim Calhoun was so proud of the way his team kept their head together in that particular ball game. John Turner averaging 8 points a ball game.
That one took a long time to get there, but it counts. Sam Jefferson comes in. Turner goes out. Hoya's down by just 2.
And here comes the Hoya press, and the Hoya crowd is into the game. Don't be surprised if Jim Calhoun gets Chris Smith into the ball game here eventually.
McLeod coming to relieve a little bit of the pressure. George trying to use the McLeod pick. Good play by Tate there. He might have got a 5-second call, and then he drives the lane for 2. Smith on the floor, picked off by Murray Williams.
Outstanding hustle getting back on a part of Phil Gamble to take away that fast break opportunity.
Down low, McLeod. Can't get it down with the left hand, and Mourning clears it. Here comes Bryant.
Pace is a little bit quicker right now, which again is to Georgetown's slight advantage.
Smith inside, good catch. Mourning puts it on the floor, double pump. Robinson might get a piece of that. Loose ball comes to George.
Alonzo showed a little bit of his inexperience in that particular case. He had to come back out with the ball. There were 4 Huskies surrounding him.
Connecticut by 4 in the ball. George again dishing this time. Gamble. Robinson, good, keep it alive. Tapped home by McLeod.
Again, the Huskies on their offensive board. A new dimension to the Jim Calhoun coached University of Connecticut Huskies. Connecticut changes its zone to a 1-3-1 zone. Smitty from the corner.
That's going to be a foul. Ooh, on Gamble. That was one of those that could have gone either way. It would have looked from this angle.
We have Smitty taking the long jumper. Gamble in decent position. Alonzo Mourning on the inside underneath. And as a result, they call over the top by Gamble. But the truth of the matter is that foul may have been committed by Alonzo Mourning. If there is such a rule as Ed Stites would talk about the rule of verticality, yep. Gamble had the right to go up and down.
And Winston couldn't get back in bounds quick enough. 16th Georgetown turnover.
In that particular case, you have to have your feet established on the court before you can pick up the ball. He was caught in the air, and that's your last step was out of bounds. You're considered out of bounds.
Tate George clears the 10-second pressure, spins away from Winston. Williams had a thought. Now he takes it. Oh, good tap by McLeod. Willie McLeod with a 4-point second half.
Jim Calhoun again was telling me this morning that Willie McLeod has been playing outstanding basketball over the last 6 ball games or so.
4 points and 5 rebounds for the senior. Smith fakes the 3, takes the 2, won't go down. Winston stripped by McLeod. George on the break finds Gamble. Smith the foul.
Huskies saw the advantage, 3-on-2. They'll take it to the basket if they see the appropriate numbers.
And as you called it, Chris Smith coming into the game along with Lyman DePriest.
I think as Georgetown has upped the defense a notch, this is an opportunity for Smitty to come in and try to penetrate a little bit. Tate George is a little bit better on running the offense half court from the perimeter.
George and Williams go to the bench. Robinson hits a turnaround.
That turnaround was 240 degrees.
The Huskies go back up by 10. 13:09 to play.
Similar, as you mentioned, to what they did at Syracuse, where they had the early lead, gave away to a little bit of a charge, kept their head together, and run away again now up 10.
Smith tries, hits one outside. 13 for Charles Smith, but he is pretty much the entire offense for Georgetown. He's 2 of 5 shooting threes. Robinson wants it. Hits again off the glass.
Oh, and as we had mentioned up top prior to the game, Cliff Robinson has to take it on himself to try to do special things for UConn. He just did it there.
17th turnover on Georgetown. Huskies get it back with a 9-point lead.
And you can have a tendency to stress the turnovers on the part of Georgetown. The point of the matter is the switching defenses on the part of Connecticut has been a factor in closing those turnovers.
Robinson putting it on the floor, got Turner in the air. Rebound, Chris Smith, blocked down low, picked off Winston. Now Georgetown will reset. Turner took off down the lane. Smith set himself, but it didn't go, and Robinson a strong rebound. Long pass. Gamble gets there, but nothing much he could do with it. Tillman lines up 3. Hits him.
Fans talking before the ball game think that that's the real key. If this Hoya team is going to continue to improve, they're going to have to get a little bit something from Mark Tillman, similar to what they got last year. And part of that is three-point shooting ability, similar to that one.
Looking for the back door. Good hands down low. It's going to be Georgetown ball.
Outstanding defense on the part of the Hoyas as Gamble tried to go backdoor and the ball was turned over.
6-point game. Back after these words from your local station. He's 11 minutes away from a second major upset this week, and Cliff Robinson again responding, Joe.
Cliff Robinson faces the basket, puts the ball on the floor, makes the lean-in move. Certainly doesn't look 6'11" in that particular case. Superstar move. Connecticut now in a 1-3-1 zone, and they're going man-to-man.
DePriest is going to cover Charles Smith.
They showed Georgetown a little bit of zone and went back to a man-to-man.
Matombo, who has come into the game trying to set a screen for Smith. Charles goes the other way on it.
Nice defensive play by Cliff Robinson, giving help that particular time.
Tillman. Smith managed to box out and get himself a rebound on the weak side.
Smitty did a nice job on the defensive board there, used his body effectively. Jim Calhoun has the 2-point guards in now, Tate George and Smitty together.
Robinson, you can tell he wants to go to the hoop, finds DePriest instead. Still 27 seconds on the shot clock, and Connecticut will use all they can. Tate George penetrates. penetrates. Good ditch on the baseline. Blocks Mutombo, but a blocking foul is called underneath.
Tate George, nice job of penetrating, and Lyman DeFries, real good job. Heads up, going without the ball.
Mark Tillman picks up the foul.
Here we have Tate George making the penetration. There you see Lyman DeFries going without the ball to the basket. Draws the foul by Mutombo.
I'm kind of stunned. I looked down at my score sheet here, Joe, and obviously I'm keeping unofficial stats, but with 9:50 to go in the game, I only have a total of 5 fouls that have been called on Georgetown in the entire game.
Yeah, I think that's the case. They've been extending the pressure. They looked as though they turned it up a notch there for a while, but they haven't really committed fouls at the tune that they usually do. It may say something about their intensity defensively. Normally they'd commit more fouls, but maybe they'd be a little bit more aggressive than they've been over the course of this entire ballgame.
Priest 1 of 2, but the ball out of bounds, and it'll go to the Hoyas off the leg of Rod Sellers, who's back in there playing with 4 fouls. So it is Smith, DePriest, Sellers, George, and McLeod.
A quick break for Cliff Robinson, obviously, here with 9 minutes to go. See how long Jim can have the luxury of keeping him on the bench, maybe till about the 7-minute mark at the most.
The Hoyas have only had 3 field goals in this half, all of them 3-pointers.
Connecticut's done an outstanding job of keeping the ball away from the inside.
Nice move by Bryant with the dribble, but he couldn't get it down. Came in and got the rebound. And Georgetown catches a break there.
Looked as if Rod Sellers had the defensive rebound, but couldn't quite catch the handle.
7-point Husky lead, 9:20 to play in the game.
Huskies are back in the zone, but it's a very, very active zone.
Tillman hits over the top of it. 7 for Mark Tillman off the bench.
The lid has come off the rim for Mark Tillman. That's very, very important to this Hoya program.
Sellers clears the pressure. Here's the handoff to Smith. Jim Calhoun trying to grab some minutes for Robinson and Gamble. Smith drives too high off the glass. Turner the rebound. Inside, Mourning double pump, and he draws a foul. It'll be Smith maybe on the reach in.
Jim Calhoun going to go back to Robinson. You can be sure of that. And Gamble back in the ball game. He gave him as much of a break as they could get.
Well, they gave that foul to Rod Sellers. One of the officials pointed at Smith. But if it's Sellers, it's his 5th. Here you see Robinson and Mourning.
Obviously, interesting comparison there. Cliff Robinson just having an outstanding ball game. His points are one thing, but the job that he's done on the board has really been the most impressive thing so far in the ball game. Alonzo Mourning, as we mentioned before, the leading shot blocker in the nation, not having the kind of offensive stats in this particular ball game that Coach Thompson has come used to lately.
Other than that one that we partially gave him credit for, has not blocked another shot in the game. It's going to be John Turner banging in there, looking for the rebound, picking up the foul. Third foul on John Turner. 4-point game, 8:42.
Georgetown in man-to-man pressure now. Smitty putting the heat on Tate George.
Robinson coming to the ball over Turner. Off the side of the glass. Mourning clears and threw it away. Robinson back. Up. Got it. Foul. Mourning commits it.
Credit Murray Williams with the outstanding defensive play, and then the assist to Cliff Robinson. Cliff puts it on the floor, takes it to the basket, has the opportunity for a conventional 3 here now.
Huge turnaround here, Joe.
Here was the turnover. Mourning tried to make the pitch up the middle of the court. We had the Williams steal. Robinson takes it strong to the basket, uses the glass, draws the foul.
That's a pro move. Lean in and get the contact.
No question. Chance to put the Huskies up 7. And that could be a little bit of a momentum turnaround. The crowd was getting into the game. Georgetown seemed to have the better of the momentum there for the last 2 minutes or so.
Could have had the ball there and a chance to get to 2 and send it down 7. Inside, outside game. near steal, Tate George.
Connecticut has impressed me with the fact that they're playing a collapsing zone, but it's so active that they've been touching a lot of the passes and into the passing lanes.
Smith will try, hit a little runner. 15 for Charles Smith. You would have to say, well, we'll say it when we come back. 7:44 to go here. 46-41. Back after these words from your local station. 7:44 to go in the game, and the Plymouth player of the game to be selected at the conclusion of this game and during every game televised by the Big East Conference Television Network is all part of the Chrysler Corporation sponsorship of Big East basketball. And Joe, what I was about to say is, at least for the first 32 minutes here this afternoon, you'd have to say Connecticut wants this game more than Georgetown.
Well, I think Connecticut has played just a little bit more intensely, and you made the point about the lack of Georgetown fouls. That may say something about the lack of intensity on the press.
Is it down and out? Williams is open for it. Warriors get back quickly.
Murray Williams double team there.
And a traveling violation is called.
Jim Calhoun thinks there was a little bit of contact. Murray Williams agrees with him. The officials say no. Murray Williams, by the way, one of the considerations for player of the game, had an outstanding 10 points there in the first half. Charles Smith will always be heard from, and I think player of the game is going to be determined over the last 7 minutes.
Turner putting it on the floor now changes his mind.
John Thompson said, good decision, John.
Charles, a runner. Kept alive underneath. Comes right back to Smith. Not this time, and it's tipped out of bounds by Murray Williams, so Georgetown gets another crack at it.
UConn still doing a good job of pursuing the ball, but the Hoyas are certainly attacking the offensive board a little bit more now than they were earlier in the ball game.
Charles Smith just 5 of 14 in the game.
UConn's done a nice job of paying attention to him, not giving him the open shot, making him put the ball on the floor and shoot the runner rather than the open man jump shot.
Georgetown seems almost exclusively to be looking for either Smith or Tillman right now. Turner penetrates. Offensive foul, John Turner, as he ran over Willie McLeod, who is having himself a heck of a second half.
Willie McLeod, the senior, doing a super job. Heads-up defensive play here. Sees Turner put his head down. No question about Willie being in there on time. Earlier in the half, Willie made a super penetrating move. Got a hoop for Gamble on a fast break.
4 points, 5 rebounds in the second half for McLeod. Milton Bell has come in place of Turner, who goes to the bench. Good cut! And the foul is going to be on Bell.
And that was a pre-designed play. Gamble and Williams picked for each other on the weak side as Robinson went to the top to turn into the assist man. We see Gamble throwing the pick for Murray Williams. Murray Williams goes without the ball. Cliff Robinson makes the good look backdoor.
Big-time pass by Cliff Robinson.
Sure was. He's going to be an outstanding forward in the future.
We've got a timeout, 6:29 to go here in the game. Connecticut still up by 5. 6:29 left to go here, 46-41. Connecticut by 5. And that man right there has shut down 2 of the premier offenses in the country in the last 5 days.
Jim Calhoun, pre-game game plan, says if we can keep the game under 70, we have a chance to win. In 8 games this year that they've kept the opponents under 70, the UConn Huskies have come out on top.
Murray Williams, who had a great start to this game with 10 first-half points, rattles the first one.
And just as Murray Williams was the key in helping to lead the Huskies to the NIT last year, I think his continued improvement, his getting more done offensively is going to be the key to the Huskies doing something in Big East Conference play. Got 10 points today, a little bit above his average.
Rolls that second one home. Bryant back quickly. Warriors don't waste much time getting the ball to three-quarter court. Warning missing outside. George is there.
George got the rebound, but credit Robinson with directing the ball to him.
Robinson on the cut, and a blocking foul. Charles Smith as he jumped in. Connecticut will have a chance to make some ground here with free throws in the final 6:07 of this.
Going to be able to try to ride the 1-and-1, and they're doing a real good job of running McLeod and Gamble and Williams off the weak side, going back door. They're going to open up a layup opportunity somewhere along the way against a half-court Georgetown pressure. Cliff Robinson has real nice shooting form for a 6'11" guy. Beautiful touch.
Drill those two. 15 for Cliff.
15 for the game.
More importantly, his club up by 8, and we're under 6 minutes to play.
Now, Connecticut is playing a man-to-man defense now, but it still has its own principle in that they're really trying to collapse inside.
And really forcing the Hoyas to take time off a clock that is fast becoming their enemy.
There is no question that the game is being played at Husky pace.
Bryant ignored Milton Bell, the freshman who was alone down in the left-hand corner. Now Bell coming to the ball. Jackson trying to create something. Lost it. It'll still be Georgetown ball, though. They'll have 10 seconds on the shot clock.
Just ricocheted off Phil Gamble, who did an outstanding job defending along the baseline there.
Oh, steal, Tate George. Great step-in, drives, and gets the bucket. Boy, that's big.
Tate George, Johnny on the spot, made the good steal on the pass to Smitty.
7 steals for Tate George unofficially.
That's what we're talking about. It's a collapsing zone, but it's not a passive zone. Tate George has real good hands.
Mourning in traffic, takes it up, got it, and drew a foul.
Mourning literally bulled his way to that basket.
Second on Cliff Robinson.
Here we have the Hoyas forcing the ball inside to Alonzo. He's not going to give it up. Nice head fake there. Draws the Robinson trying to look for the block and draws the foul with an opportunity for a conventional three-pointer.
6 points, 4 rebounds now for Mourning as Jaren Jackson sits down.
We look at that graphic there and we look over at rejection row, and if there's a real surprise in the ball game, that might be the biggest surprise of all.
Tillman, good hustle play. Connecticut's going to get it back on the alternating possession as Murray Williams was able to jump in and tie him up.
As we were mentioning, rejection row hasn't had much to do today. Alonzo and Mutombo have not been able to block the Husky attempts.
Robinson better hurry, finds Gamble. Now George, loose, good hands, but now it's taken away. Charles Smith launched one, that's a goaltend.
Ball went in anyway, but no question that Williams definitely touched the ball on its downward flight. Good call on the part of the officials.
Hoyas cut it to 6. John Thompson directing the defensive pressure.
Here's a shot. Here's the Williams definitely going to go in goaltend.
Hard to stay in those replays the way these two teams are going at each other right now.
Don't be too surprised if Jim Calhoun calls a timeout coming up here to try to get this half-court offense organized.
McLeod looking, threw it away, trying to get it to Robinson. On the break, Smith, pull up. Too long. Tillman, a rebound. Got 2.
Here's that timeout we were talking about. Jim Calhoun wants to organize that front-court offense.
4:15 left to go here at the Cap Center. The Husky lead is down to 4. The Hoyas have scored 6 straight. 15 seconds left to go here at the Cap Center in Landover, Maryland.
Turnover, as we see it, leads to the Georgetown foray down court and offensive rebound basket. Jim Calhoun, good timeout. See if the Huskies can respond now to the change of momentum here.
Connecticut breaks the pressure, gets it up over the 10-second line.
Jim has Smith, Tate George, and Phil Gamble all in the game at the same time now against this half-court pressure.
Mourning aggressively out on Robinson. Smith on Smith. Bryant on Gamble. Robinson wants it. Mourning got there, a piece of it, but he got Robinson too. Third foul on Mourning, and Robinson will be at the line.
That's an interesting turnaround shot that Cliff Robinson takes from the block on the right side of the basket. Most offensive players would turn to their left shoulder towards the baseline and bank it. He fades away and turns almost 240 degrees. And he does draw the foul, as Alonzo definitely came across his elbow and forearm.
Cliff 5 of 7 at the line today.
Guy that Jim Calhoun likes to have at the line here at this time of the ball game now.
Lyman DePriest will come in. Chris Smith will go out.
Defensive adjustment there. Jim Calhoun will make offensive, defensive adjustments. You can be sure of that over the course of the rest of the ball game now.
Robinson coolly sinks 2. Leading scorer in the game with 17. He and Charles Smith at that mark. Inside Mourning. Back they go. Turns into the double team. Powers it in.
With Robinson bringing the ball up against the Georgetown pressure here.
3:15 to go in the game. Connecticut by 4.
Connecticut will try to go without the ball here.
Winston the quick hands and DePriest the foul.
Georgetown has its smallest team on the court, but its best defensive team with Tillman, Bryant, Smith, and Winston in there, along with Alonzo.
First foul on Lyman DePriest, but Connecticut over the limit, so Bobby Winston will go to the free throw line. Winston just a 53% free throw shooter.
Georgetown obviously on an 8-2 run, made the comeback here. Capitol Center fans in the ball game.
Long with it, and Williams is there. Alonzo Mourning back pressing. Comes on the double team, and Mourning committed the foul.
Tate George drew the double team and caused the foul to happen. No question, Mourning left his feet and definitely made body contact.
That was real close. The shot clock right now is stopped at 35, so they were real close to the 10 seconds.
Tate George drawing the double team. Puts his body in. Mourning definitely hits him with his left leg, if you see it there. His knee was in.
So Alonzo will play for as long as he can with those 4. That's the Connecticut lead, and Tate George, who has been a terrific free throw shooter in the clutch for this team.
81% foul shooter, but more important, clutch foul shooter.
Wished that one in a little bit. Pulled back from the line and gave a little body English.
And if we have 4 fouls on Alonzo Mourning with under 3 minutes to go, there's no way that John Thompson even considers taking him out of the ball game.
Tate a lot cleaner on the second one.
No wish on that one. All net.
6-point Husky lead. Here's this Connecticut defense. Tillman hits a 3 and cuts it in half. Tillman is 5 of 6 off the Georgetown bench.
Connecticut will be going without the ball on the weak side, trying to get Cliff Robinson something one-on-one versus Mourning if they can.
The crowd shows patience. DePriest keeps flashing a look inside at Robinson. He wants to get rid of the ball and does to George. 18 on the shot clock. And Connecticut with the timeout. Connecticut will have 15 seconds to get a playoff. Plenty of time. Your thoughts, Coach?
Jim Calhoun in now, 2 minutes to go. I mean, it's crunch time now. He wants his guards on the floor, wants Tate George looking to penetrate, see if we get Bill Gamble into the offense or free up Cliff Robinson one-on-one against Mourning. On the other hand, Georgetown just turning up the man-to-man defense a notch, looking for double-team opportunities. Obviously, they want their defense to generate some offense, and they really hit the three-pointer to get back in this ballgame.
Watch Mark Tillman here, who has been a real spark off the Hoya bench.
And Mark Tillman had done this all last year, hadn't been able to get going this year, but has had an outstanding game here in the second half.
Tillman in his defense had a bad back throughout the summer and really has just started to, according to the Georgetown people, play physically like the Mark Tillman of last year.
Exactly. He's an outstanding defensive player and has always been a good shooter. He just hasn't been able to get started. And sometimes, even if physically you're better, if psychologically you're not sure you're better, it still has an effect upon your shot and your fluidity in your shooting ability. Not easy to get the ball in from the sideline. Fans will think that this is easy when we set up the 4 horsemen here, but it's not easy to get the ball in bounds.
Each club with 2 timeouts left, 55-52.
See how much time the Huskies take off the clock here.
Down to 9. Robinson, runner. Offensive foul is called.
Good defensive step in on the part of Bobby Winston. Cliff Robinson doing what Jim Calhoun wanted, though. He wants him to take his own man. He beats his own man, actually. He winds up making the foul on a good step in from off the ball by Bobby Winston.
Winston had been there for a while. All right, the Hoyas down 3 with the ball. Under 2 minutes to go. But they have a feeling we're going to be around here for a while.
The Hoyas won't necessarily go for 3 here, even though they won't pass it up. They may still try to go inside to Alonzo.
Smith. Nice job by DePriest to get out on him quickly. Jaren Jackson and Tillman, all 3. Alley-oop to Mourning. He goes up. Got it and drew a foul.
Well, as we mentioned, they might bypass the 3 and go for the 2 inside to Mourning, but we didn't realize that it might set up a 3-point opportunity.
And I believe they got the foul on Cliff Robinson. That'll be his 4th.
Here's the alley-oop. It's not quite timed to be an alley-oop. Nice timing on the part of Mourning. Goes up strong, draws the foul from Robinson. It is his 4th. Here's the other look at it. Normally now, if that's timed perfectly, he's going to catch it above the rim and dunk it. But just slightly mistimed. Did a nice job of converting.
The foul called by the official, who was off to the left as you looked at that. It looked like Robinson might have just whisked by and not touched anything. Now Robinson is asking for fouls really on him, and it is.
If anything, a tick foul. Jim Calhoun not pleased with that particular one. No real physical abuse in that particular play.
55-54 Connecticut. Mourning 2 of 5 at the line.
Alonzo, a 65% foul shooter over the course of this year. Has made a lot of pressure foul shots over the course of his high school career, though. Can't think of him as a freshman anymore. Halfway through the season, he's become already a special player in the Big East. Leads all freshmen in scoring in the Big East.
Got the membership bounce there. We are tied at 55 with a minute and a half to play. That's the first tie in the game since it was 4 apiece. George lost the ball. Bryant goes for it, but couldn't control it. And Connecticut catches a real break there as Tate George just slipped and fell.
Jim Calhoun thrilled with that turn of events. Looked like a breakaway layup for Dwayne Bryant.
Now they only have 39 seconds here, or the shot clock rather is down to 38. They get it over. I'm not quite sure I understand that, Joe. You'll have to. You get a fresh 10 seconds.
Where are we now?
They were at 31 when they got the ball over half court.
I didn't even see the clock.
McLeod. Oh, stolen again by Winston.
Super steal by Bobby Winston. Will Georgetown go inside to Mourning? No, Mourning's not in the ball game. They're going to look for Charles Smith. You can be sure of that. John's got him in 4 corners. To go without the ball has to be a layup or a real good opportunity for Charles Smith.
Connecticut would get this ball back even if the Hoyas took it down to the last possible second with 15 seconds to go.
The mistake that you can make here is that you can wait a little too long and as a result not get a good shot opportunity. You want to go with about 10 seconds and have an opportunity to get an offensive rebound.
Well, they got to go now.
And here they go.
Smith comes to the ball, looks up at the shot clock. Bryant may have to take it, does. Back rims it, over the top, rebound, Jefferson. And Sam Jefferson's going to be going to the line.
Interesting substitution there. Sam Jefferson came in the ball game when UConn had the ball. Obviously, it was for defensive purposes, and here he has the opportunity to be an offensive factor in this ball game.
And they gave the foul to Cliff Robinson. His 5th.
Sam Jefferson, by the way, on the year is 0 for 2 from the foul line.
What a turnaround.
Here's a shot by Bryant to miss. High carom. Jefferson does a nice job of going to the board. Definitely draws the foul. No question about the 5th foul on Cliff Robinson there.
Robinson with 17 points and 7 rebounds goes to the bench.
But as much as you don't want him to foul out, you can't allow Jefferson to make that layup either. I thought Robinson made the real good defensive attempt there.
Sam Jefferson has not made a free throw this year.
The betting men will bet on 2 bricks, but you never know. Basketball's a funny game.
Right you are.
The only thing consistent about basketball is its inconsistency. John Thompson wouldn't have written this script. 0 for 2, Sam Jefferson at the line here. Makes the most.
Here come the Huskies. Chris Smith.
They won't call timeout. They'll go to the basket if they can.
Takes a tough shot. Won't go down. Rebound, Charles Smith. And a foul with 2 seconds on the clock.
Credit the Hoyas for not trying.